Welcome to the New Japan Pro Wrestling 2020 New Japan Cup Nights 3 and 4 preview. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's talk about it. Pow! That was silly. The first 3 shows of New Japan Pro Wrestling's Comeback Tour are in the books. They're in the rear view. If you missed my last video, go ahead and go check it out. It's a review of Nights 1 and Nights 2 of the New Japan Cup. So go watch that video if you haven't, and then come back here, because now we're going to start looking forward to next week's shows, Nights 3 and 4, and really just analyzing the right side of the bracket as a whole. Thank you for joining me. I was thinking about how I can make this video as interesting as possible, and how I could most effectively communicate my mindset about the right side of the bracket. So I think what I'm going to do, and what will serve this video best, is I'm going to break down each individual quadrant, each quarter, so the upper right quadrant and the bottom right quadrant as a whole, how I think all the moving pieces within the bracket will work together to tell the story of the tournament as a whole, and who I think the eventual semifinalist is that will emerge from each quadrant. And then I'll go back and give you my prediction for each individual first round matchup that's going to be happening on Monday morning and Tuesday morning. I'll give you how confident I am in the result that I'm going with, as well as my match expectations for quality, so like however many stars I'm expecting the match to deliver. So I'll get started with the top right bracket. It is the bracket that I think most of us New Japan fans got the most excited about when the brackets were first released. There's just no way that this show isn't going to deliver high quality wrestling to us. The 8 guys that are involved in this bracket are all immensely entertaining, and yeah, I just don't see any way that this Monday morning show could underdeliver. So as a whole, this bracket has 6 legitimate contenders in my view. 6 guys that could win this whole thing, and it wouldn't be like overly shocking to any of the fans, in my opinion. So we have Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Taichi, Kota Ibushi versus Sabre Jr., Taguchi versus Sonata, and then Sho versus Shingo. So like I said, I think Tanahashi is a legitimate contender. Anytime he's in a situation like this in New Japan Pro Wrestling, he's a threat to win it all. He showed us that in 2018's G1 Climax. I think a lot of people had written him off and thought that he would never be back in the Tokyo Dome main event. But just when fans started to doubt him, he proved it wrong, and he won the G1 in 2018. So I think that we can't count him out until I think a number of years pass, and it shows that Tanahashi really is done with being a top guy in New Japan. So he could still win any tournament that's in front of him. I feel like it'd be foolish to doubt him. Tanahashi's a legitimate contender. I just think that there is another storyline that's going on that kind of prevents me from really believing that to be a huge possibility, but it definitely is a possibility. Then we have Taichi, his first round opponent. At least in my opinion, Taichi is a future main event heel in New Japan. I just think it's a matter of time until they pull the trigger on that. Whatever you feel about Taichi, I'm a huge Taichi fan. I think that his whole vibe is just hilarious, and I think that he can really go in the ring and put on like legitimate 4.5 star matches whenever he wants to go. I just think that he chooses to kind of play the heel and upset all of us more often than not. But eventually I think Taichi is going to be a top guy in New Japan. It's just when are they going to pull the trigger on that? They could do it now. It wouldn't shock me if he was to win this cup, but I think that more likely than not, it would be a little strange for Naito versus Taichi to be the Dominion's main event, coming back from this like 3-month-long quarantine period. Like, how are we going to celebrate New Japan's return with the second biggest show of the year? Naito versus Taichi. Like, I just feel like that would just kind of fall flat in a lot of people's minds, which I'd be down with it, but I know that I understand why people wouldn't be. So, not quite yet, but I do think he's the dark horse to win it. Ibushi, he's just a top guy in New Japan now. He's full-time with the company. He's one of the best in-ring performers in the world. And yeah, anytime he's involved, similarly to Tanahashi, anytime he's in a position like this, you got to consider him as a guy that can go all the way. For real. I just like Tanahashi, just like Taichi, I consider him to be more of a dark horse, just because of another storyline that's going on, but I'll get into that, like I said. And then Sabre, he won it in 2018. New Japan's shown that whenever they want to, they have the faith to let Sabre take the ball and run with it. So if they wanted to do it again now, then I wouldn't put it past them. But again, there is that storyline that's going on that I'll talk about. Sonata, he's my pick to win the whole thing. He's probably your pick to win the whole thing. I think that he's the favorite collectively to win the New Japan Cup this year. It just makes sense. The story tells itself. And more often than not, I think that in New Japan, the story that feels the most logical and feels like would progress the most naturally is often the story that happens. And so, for me, Sonata is in LIJ, a group led by Naito, who's the double champ. And Sonata doesn't have a belt. And he feels like he's been fighting for years and years and years to get to the top of the company. And it just feels like it's time for him to run through this tournament and get his chance to usurp Naito and just stake his claim as a top guy in New Japan. So that just feels like the story that's going to be told to me. But this does feel unpredictable as a whole, so I wouldn't put too much stock in Sonata winning it. It just feels like the logical result to me. And then we have Shingo, another guy who is in LIJ. There's Ascension in the group. It's a bunch of guys that all seem like alphas, and Shingo more than anyone really has expressed that he feels he's the top guy. His championship is the top championship, and he wants to prove that. So within the storyline, Shingo's motivations are super clear, and it would make a lot of sense for him to be the guy that pushes through this bracket. So he has to be considered a guy that can win the whole thing as well. I really don't think there's another quadrant on this bracket that has anywhere near 6 legitimate contenders in it. I think that the top left bracket, Hiromu and Ishii, are honestly the only 2 guys that I could see winning this whole thing. In the bottom left bracket, Suzuki was maybe a contender, but he got knocked out. And Nagata, I could see them giving him a deeper run, but I just honestly don't see him getting past Okada. And if he does, I just don't think that it's there that he wins the whole thing. So honestly, Okada might be the only guy from that bracket that actually could win the whole thing. And then in the bottom right bracket, I'll get to that, but I think there's 2 guys, maybe 3 in that bracket that have a legitimate chance. So there's no doubt that this top right bracket is the most stacked bracket, just as far as where these guys are on the card. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and that show at 6 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday morning, is going to be an incredible show. I can't wait for it. So let me just go through and break down the matches one by one. So we have Tanahashi versus Taichi. I am of the opinion that seems to be the prevailing opinion as far as these top 2 matches in the upper right quadrant go. I think that the most likely scenario is that one of the Golden Aces gets through and one of Dangerous Tekkers gets through. I don't see them doing Ibushi Tanahashi in the second round of the Empty Arena New Japan Cup. I think that's a storyline that's going to build to an eventual high-profile clash between the 2 of them. I just don't think this is the place to do it unless they feel the need to fast-track that storyline because they have this smaller, cut-down roster. They might feel like Tanahashi and Ibushi is a storyline they need to get going, so maybe they'll hurry up and do it now. Maybe Ibushi's turn, which I think is going to come eventually, Ibushi's heel turn could happen sooner than later. I just feel like it makes sense for them to lose the belts, the tag team championships, and then to do the storyline. But you never know what they'll do. But in my mind, I think Tanahashi goes over Taichi. I just think that Tanahashi has been an ambassador for New Japan in this time, and he's really been a voice that's been speaking out. He spoke at the press conference. He spoke at the assembly that they had in Japan to discuss wrestling in the COVID era, and I just think that it makes a lot of sense for him to at least make it past the first round, maybe farther. And like I said, Taichi's a future top guy in my mind, but I just don't think it's his time to make that run yet. And I think that Tanahashi just wins in a match that pleases the fans and gives us an additional, or maybe even 2 or 3 more Tanahashi matches in this tournament. I just don't think they're going to want to knock him out in the first round. So I'll go Tanahashi like 60-40. It would not surprise me at all if they have Taichi pull the upset and go over Tanahashi. So like I said, if I have Tanahashi, then I'm going to have Sabre Jr. going over Ibushi. The same way, 60-40 for Sabre. I know that that's going to set up a Sabre-Tanahashi second round clash, and a lot of people feel like that feud has worn itself out a bit. I personally am here for another match between the two of them. They're still two of the best in the world. Legitimate case, I think you could argue that both of those guys are top 10 wrestlers in the world right now, and I think seeing them go again wouldn't be something that I'd be mad at, and I think it would make sense to do this match that has been done a lot recently in the empty arena, so you're not giving away a new match in Ibushi versus Taichi to a venue without a crowd in it. So I'll go ZSJ there, but if it ends up being Taichi and Ibushi, I wouldn't be shocked. 60-40 for ZSJ. And again, they could still do Tanahashi versus Ibushi or Taichi versus Sabre. You never know. I think the more likely scenario is Sabre and Taichi. They both pick up victories over the IWGP Tag Team Champions, and then like they have just a clear claim to those titles. But I just don't see that happening. I think it's more likely that Tanahashi advances and then Sabre meets him in the second round. Who would win that additional match? When I get to a preview of the second round, I'll talk more about that. But I think that match could go either way. Taguchi versus Sonata. This feels like the only predictable match of the this show, this quadrant. Sonata's probably going to win. 95% chance, I would say, that Sonata wins. 95-5 for Sonata. The only scenario that I can see, which if I was writing, if I had the book, I would consider doing this. I think it would be extremely interesting for Sonata to take the loss here to Taguchi in a shocking upset, and rather than Sonata reaching Dominion, winning the New Japan Cup, and falling to Naito, which is probably what's going to happen, you have Sonata losing the first round in the cup that a lot of people thought was his cup to win, and that could be the thing that drives him out of LIJ or drives him off the edge to some sort of turn or some sort of character change. I just think that would be interesting and unpredictable, and I'd be here for it. So don't completely count out Taguchi, but I feel fairly certain that they're going to have Sonata move forward in this match. And then Sho Shingo, to me, this is the most unpredictable match of the entire first round of the New Japan Cup. Shingo is definitely the guy of the two that is actually a contender to make a run to the finals and to win the tournament. But because of the restricted roster, and in my mind I'm thinking that New Japan has to set up a Dominion card, I think that there's a really, really good chance that Sho is going to pick up this win to set up a never openweight title match for Dominion, a big marquee match that they can put towards the top of the card that will really draw viewers. So I think ideally in a perfect world that they would want to keep that storyline that's brewing between Shingo and Sho, where Sho really feels like he needs to get that singles victory over Shingo to feel fully established as a star in New Japan. I think that ideally they would want to push that off and have Sho take a few more losses to Shingo before they pay it off, but I just think that their hand is going to be forced here. And I'm going to say Sho's going to pull off the upset. I think Sho's going to win and hold up that never title, and I don't think he's going to make it farther than that. I think he's probably going to drop in the second round, but I'll go 51-49 Sho. I really think that this is a coin flip, but if I had to pick and if I had to book it, I would say put Sho over and give us that match at Dominion. You don't have a big enough roster to give us anything more interesting than that in the never open weight slot, so I just think that's what's going to happen here with the circumstances that we have. So moving forward in the top right bracket, I'll go Tanahashi, Zack Sabre Jr., Sonata, and Sho. And then moving on to the bottom right bracket, let me go through and give you my star predictions, or what my expectations are for each match. So Tanahashi versus Taichi, the last time they met was in 2018's New Japan Cup. So and they had a really solid match. I don't remember the match super well, but I do remember that I enjoyed it, and I looked it up on Cage Match, and I think it has like a high 7 or a low 8. So it was an enjoyable match. I remember being convinced that Taichi had a chance to win, and I think that this will be similar. I think that they're going to get us a handful of really convincing near falls and moments where it seems like Taichi is going to heel his way to the victory, but like I said in the end, I think Tanahashi is going to go over, and I think it'll be a really fun back and forth match. I think that 4 stars is a really fair expectation for that match. As long as Taichi shows up, as long as Dangerous T shows up ready to go for it. And then Ibushi Sabre, I mean, this is going to be 4.5 stars, probably minimum. I think that's fair to say. I think we can all agree. Sonata Taguchi, I mean, it's predictable. It feels predictable, but there are going to be moments when it feels like Taguchi has a chance, and my eyes are going to be glued to the screen the whole time, and I think that I'm expecting a 3.5 star match minimum, maybe even a 4-star match. I'll say 3 3/4 would be my prediction. Sho and Shingo, 4 3/4 stars. I think this could be 5 stars and it wouldn't be shocking to me, but I'll stay with 4 3/4. Their match in the Best of the Super Juniors for me was every bit as good as Shingo Ospreay in the final. I think that was a legitimate 5-star match, and I don't think there's a reason to believe that this will fall much short of that. I think maybe without the crowd, you can take a 1/4 star off, but I'm expecting a banger out of these two. I hope they put it in the main event. I know Sabre Ibushi is a marquee match and a match that everyone loves to see every time, but Sho Shingo just feels like the more compelling story to me at the moment. So, yeah, I'm expecting 4 3/4 stars from Sho and Shingo. At least 5 stars, I would not be surprised. So moving on to the bottom right bracket, we have Tenzan versus Yoshihashi, Yo versus Bushi, Kojima versus Evil, and Goto versus Yujiro. This bracket is, without a doubt, in my mind, the least interesting bracket of the 4 quadrants. I think that there's 2 contenders, honestly, in this bracket, legitimate contenders, maybe 3, like I said. I think Evil has an outside chance to win the New Japan Cup. I think Goto has an outside chance to win the New Japan Cup. And I think if they really wanted to do something interesting with Yoshihashi and give his character something new and try to make him work finally, I think maybe they could give Yoshihashi this, but that's like a sub 1% chance. But he would be like in my top 10 contenders if I had to list them, probably. Maybe like 11. Behind the 6 guys in the upper right bracket, and behind Hiromu and Okada. But you can't count Yoshihashi out. He's still on the roster. He still is put in circumstances to deliver, and eventually maybe they're going to do something interesting with him and give him a chance to go, and hopefully he can deliver whenever they do give him that chance, but more likely than not that this isn't the time for it. But I don't know. I wouldn't be completely caught off guard if he was to run all the way. You never know. So yeah, as a whole, I think that the 2 stories in this are just going to be who's going to come out of the bottom out of Evil and Goto. Are either of them going to be upset by Yujiro or Kojima? Are they going to try to make this bracket more interesting with some upsets? And then, yeah, what Yoshihashi are we going to get? Are we going to get the Yoshihashi that had that banger with Ibushi? And was that the New Japan Cup a couple years ago? I think it was, in the first round before Ibushi lost to Sabre. That amazing match, we're going to get that motivated Yoshihashi that has fire and that plays the underdog well, or are we going to get a unmotivated Yoshihashi who just goes out there and has a couple of matches and then gets knocked out? I think those are the 2 stories that really stick out to me in this bracket. So match by match, Tenzan Yoshihashi. Yoshihashi's going to win this, 99% sure. Unless they really are just done with Yoshihashi and they're going to give up on him, I think that there's zero worth in putting Tenzan over. He's just a guy that had his time to shine, but it's just past him now. And I think that he's just there to put younger guys over. And I just wouldn't see the value in putting Tenzan over Yoshihashi. So, yeah, I'll say Yoshihashi, 99% chance that Yoshihashi moves forward. Yo Bushi, similarly to Sho Shingo, this is a coin flip. Maybe even more unpredictable than Sho Shingo, because I know a lot of people see Shingo as the favorite, but to me, I just have that feeling for Sho. So, but around as unpredictable as that match, I have Yo moving forward, but it could go either way. In my mind, I was just thinking about what could be the most interesting storyline, because I think that looking deeper into the second round, I'll go into this later, but I do think whoever goes over out of this match between Yo and Bushi has a legitimate chance to upset Yoshihashi in the second round. And to me, I just view Yo as the more interesting of the 2. I'm a huge Bushi fan. I know a lot of people underrate his work. When Bushi's given the chance to go out and steal the show, he absolutely does it every time. To To me, I just think if Sho's going to pick up that win against Shingo, it makes sense for Yo to also pick up the win against the LIJ member and to move forward and to possibly even upset Yoshihashi in the second round in a Chaos versus Chaos match. Yeah, I think that they have more invested in Yo long term, and I just think that it makes sense to put Yo over Bushi. But same as Sho Shingo, not super convinced, so I'll go 51-49 for Yo. Evil Kojima. I love Kojima. I think that next to Nagata, he is the New Japan dad, the New Japan veteran that's past his prime that can still go. We saw last year in his match with Shingo. We saw it in, I believe, 2018 in his G1 Climax run. Kojima's got the goods still, just like Nagata, and yeah, I'd love to see him. Just like I said in the review for Nights 1 and 2, I'd love to see him in a G1 again. Unfortunately, we already seen Nagata's last G1, but we haven't seen Kojima's last G1, at least officially. So I'm all about Kojima. I'm all about pushing him, but I just think that Evil needs this one more. I think they have more invested in him, and I think that the logical choice here is Evil. So I'll go Evil, but I wouldn't be shocked if Kojima were to upset him. I'll go Evil 80-20. If they wanted to put Kojima and give him a run, if they wanted to put Kojima over Evil and let him run to the quarters, it wouldn't be shocking to me. But for me, with the LIJ storyline, Evil is a guy that could make a run to the semifinals and be extremely interesting for possibly meeting another LIJ member there. So I'll go Evil, 80-20. And then Goto Yujiro. Yujiro can maybe be a heel and pull this off, but it's a New Japan Cup. Goto is strong in the New Japan Cup, and Goto is strong in these kinds of matches. He doesn't get the job done when the stakes are high, but in a match against Yujiro Takahashi in the first round of the New Japan Cup, I just don't see Hiroki Goto falling here. 90-10 Goto. Yujiro maybe could pull it off. Just like I said, they might want to throw in a shocking upset here just to make this bracket feel some semblance of interesting. But I don't know if that was correct English, but whatever. So I'll go Goto, like I said, 90-10. I'd be shocked if Yujiro were to win, but I won't completely count it out. So as far as what I'm expecting for match quality out of these matches, Tenzan Yoshihashi, man, I don't really care. 2.5 stars. Maybe they'll surprise us and fire this match up and give it some time and let it build, but I don't honestly know if I want it to have a lot of time. I'd rather than just get it over with, to be honest. I don't mean to be overly negative, but I just don't have a whole lot of interest in it. 2.5 stars is what I am expecting, and I would be satisfied with out of that match. Yo versus Bushi. This is a match that I think people could sleep on, and it's unpredictable. It has that going for it. It should stick out on this show, a show that will feature probably 3 slower-paced matches in the other 3 spots. I think Yo and Bushi could go out and have a really quick 10, 11, 12-minute match full of action, and I think they could steal this show for sure. I'm expecting a 4-star match to them for sure. Maybe higher, but I think 4 stars is super reasonable. Evil and Kojima, this is going to be a strong style banger. To me, if it's not Bushi and Yo putting on Match of the Night, it's Evil and Kojima. Kojima still got it, and Evil is the King of Darkness and the weirdest, coolest wrestling guy ever, and he's a big, strong boy, and yeah, Kojima is older, big, strong boy, and they're going to hit each other really hard, and they're going to probably maybe knock one of each other's tooths out, and they're going to welt up the chest just like Nagata and Suzuki did probably, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So just like Bushi Yo, I say I'm expecting 4 stars out of that match. And then Goto Yujiro. If Yujiro shows up and is super motivated, maybe they can have a really competitive match, but I expect this to just be full of shenanigans, which I'm not against. I think it could be effective, and I think that they could convince me that Yujiro has a chance in the closing sequences with the right kind of Bullet Club dynamics going on. So I think it's fair to say I'm expecting a 3-star match to them. I think that it'll definitely be interesting enough to hold my attention, and I think it'll be a slightly above average match. So I'll go 3 stars for that. So yeah, that's the preview for nights 3 and 4. Thank you for sticking with me through this. I hope it's not too long-winded. I just wanted to try to get my whole thought process out there so you guys can understand what I'm thinking. And yeah, I'm just super excited for these shows, especially night 3, Monday morning. Hopefully Monday I can have a review up of night 3. If not, I'll have a review up of night 3 and 4 sometime Tuesday or Wednesday. So stick around for that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I'm super excited about doing these videos more often. I just love New Japan and I love talking about it. So thanks for listening to me. Y'all are the best. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Peace.